Welcome to episode 21 of the Rise Fitness and Nutrition Podcast. I am your host, Carlo. This week we are talking about calorie cycling, carb cycling, and what's behind it, how it works, and how to simply troubleshoot if something feels like it's going wrong. If you have any question, as usual, you can reach me on Instagram at thecarl.fit. Happy listening! Okay, you have everything ready. You got your daily calories, you got your daily macros, you got everything set. And now it's just about starting. But wait, hold on a second. Tonight you can't because you have a dinner with your colleagues. Oh, but tomorrow you have somebody's birthday. And the day after you had lunch with some of the other coworkers. Damn, that makes it really difficult. How are you gonna do it? How are you gonna be sure that you're hitting your macros and your calories daily with all those things that are, say, quote-unquote, in the way? Let's admit that it's very easy to have everything ready, have everything cleared up, and then, it takes time to start. It's difficult to find the right moment to start where all the stars are aligned, when the schedule is clear, when your fridge is ready, when you're like, okay, boom, let's do it. But okay, let's say that this happens. And wow, it's also Monday. Perfect. You got everything cleared. And okay, you start measuring your food, you start writing out your macros, you go on Monday, goes perfectly, Tuesday is great, Wednesday is wonderful, Thursday, whoops, you have lunch with a friend, with a coworker, with anybody else. And then, okay, you cannot go to the restaurant and measure the weight of the food and check the macronutrients. So you're like, okay, I am not sure. And then at dinner, you don't know what to do because you don't know what you had for lunch. So what are you gonna go for dinner? And then it's Friday. The day after is Friday, and nobody wants to be on a diet. Nobody wants to be strict on Friday. Your friends call you, you go out for dinner, you have a few drinks, and realize that you had too much, that you are way out of your calories, way out of your macronutrients. And then this sort of guilt starts building up. So you're like, okay, fine. Sunday, I'm just gonna go fasting, or I'm not gonna eat, or I'm gonna starve myself, or I'm gonna go to the gym and do 3 times what I was supposed to do, or run 1 hour. And all these kind of coping mechanisms and feelings start to kick in. Does it sound like something familiar that happened to you in the past, or is still happening to you? Or do you have a situation where you feel anxiety approaching a meal or after a big meal or a night out? And if that's the case, let me give you some ideas and some advices on how to handle this type of anxiety. Once again, let's consider this. You have your daily calories and daily macros clear, and you know exactly what to do. Let's say this. And let's say that, for example, you have to eat 2000 calories a day, for the sake of an example. One thing is that I would like you not to be that strict. I would like you to consider a range. As I said in a previous podcast, a range could be like from 1800 calories all the way to 2200, something around that, or even less, 1900, 2100, because it's easier if you have a range to have a little bit more on some days and a little bit less on some days and be fine with that. Whereas if you have a very strict, clear number like 2000, if one day you eat 2200 calories, there's panic because you ate 200 calories more. And that's sometimes difficult to cope with. Now that we have this clear, let's make it even easier. Imagine that you had to eat 2000 calories a day, okay? But some days, since you're home or you're having a regular day, you might eat less. Not because you want to eat less, but simply because you have less food around you, or because you have less food, because maybe you're not that hungry. But then, if you're supposed to eat 2000 calories and for whatever the reason that day you're only eating 1700, you might have, again, a panic reaction because you're not eating enough. What am I going to do? So the idea I want to give you today is called calorie cycling, which basically means that you take your calories, your daily calories value, and you multiply that by 7 days. So if you have to eat 2000 calories a day, multiply that by 7 and you have 14,000 calories per week. Now, having a weekly value might give you flexibility. Because, as I said before, some days you might be less hungry, so you eat less. But some other days you might be hungrier, or maybe you're out for dinner, or maybe you have more food around you, you have more snacks, for whatever the reason. So some days you might eat more. That means that at the end of the week, you should aim to have 14,000 calories. But how you have them throughout the 7 days, it's up to you. If days you have some more, you know that you have a specific balance left. If days you have some less, the rule is the same. Consider this as your weekly calorie budget and handle it like this. And the same way you will handle a money budget, someday you spend a little more, then you know that for the week you have a little less. So you handle and you manage things consequently. That means that if you're doing this kind of calorie cycling weekly budget, then you know that if on the weekend you know you're gonna go out, you're gonna have more drinks, you're gonna have more food, which is perfectly fine. Just be aware that if the weekend you spend quote unquote more calories, then you know that during the other days you simply had to stay a little lower than usual. So as long as at the end of the 7 days you match your calorie budget, you're fine. And I think that this is very liberating in a way because it breaks the chain of the daily anxiety of reaching the specific amount of calories or the risk of overeating them. Then you have a full week to handle. Now you know your schedule better than anyone else. And of course, things might happen randomly. A friend calls you for lunch all of a sudden. A coworker asks you for some drinks after work all of a sudden, which is fine. Just being aware that you have a weekly budget, it might help you to, soothe this anxiety and to spread whatever you can have through 7 days. The nutrition rules are always the same. Focus on protein first, and then have veggies every day, and then have your carbohydrates. And remember, carbohydrates are not enemies. And by doing this weekly budget, you can also have things that can be considered as quote-unquote unhealthy, but you can still have them because those are the foods that you like. If you like pizza, go and have pizza. If you want a slice of cake, have a slice of cake. Just keep in mind your weekly availability. That's it. Seriously, that's it. That's all it takes. When it comes to cycling, there's another very big topic, is the carbs cycling. Now, what is that about? Carb cycling is about cycling the amount of carbohydrates you have throughout the week. And you might say, duh, it says that in the name, dude. That's true. But what does it mean specifically? Like actively, what you have to do? The rule is super simple. Once again, on days that you work out, have a little bit more carbs because they're going to give you energy and strength for your workout. And on days when you're not working out, have a little less. That's it. No, seriously, that's it. There's nothing else. Do you want an example? On days you go to the gym, for example, have some oatmeal for breakfast or before or after the gym. On days you don't go work out, don't. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It just has to be an adjustment on your daily and weekly diet. Seriously. But then again, life might get in the way. On days you have planned a workout, so you had more carbohydrates, the workout has to be skipped for whatever the reason. When those situations happen, don't punish yourself. You don't have to cope the following day if something went wrong the previous day, okay? So the following day, stick to the plan you had originally. And the reason is simple. One day will not ruin your progress because this is not a race. This is a lifestyle, so you have your whole life in front of you. And very similar thing can be said about budgeting. If you have your own budget, but today you spend a little bit more, it's not like you're gonna go bankrupt tomorrow. And I'm just saying a little bit more, okay? So the idea is the same. So to recap, have your daily calories figured out. Multiply the value by 7, so you have your weekly calorie budget, and then use it according to your schedule. But remember, if one day you go a little higher than usual, you're not ruining your progress. The following day, go back on track as scheduled, so no need to punish yourself. So that's it. That's all it takes. And that was it for today. What do you think about calorie cycling? What do you think about carb cycling? Let me know on my Instagram channel at thecarl.fit. Have you ever been in such situation? Do you think this was helpful? If you have the chance and are listening on Apple Podcast, a 5-star review will be super duper appreciated and helpful. Other than that, have a great rest of the week. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.